It's important to recognize two things. First, the surge of unaccompanied children and adults with children are arriving at one sector of the border, and that's the Rio Grande Valley. Second, the issue is not that people are evading our enforcement officials. The issue is that we're apprehending them in large numbers.
It truly makes no difference what presidential administration we're talking about. Every single one is fraught and overpopulated with officials and those in power who don't listen to what seems to be logical explanations and ideas on how to solve problems, be it hubris, ego, or just plain arrogance. And the Obama administration is no different when it comes to a number of issues, including how to close down the borders, make the nation safer, and stop the flood of illegal immigrants, refugees, and who knows what else. All right, let's dig into this new one here. Welcome to MidPoint. He is the president of American Border Patrol and someone who has many times offered up a logical solution. Glenn Spencer joins us today on MidPoint. Glenn, thanks for being with us.
Well, this is great to be with you. I'm glad to have this opportunity to talk to your audience.
Glenn, I want to point out, too, that you say you live right across, you live on the border, correct?
I have a ranch on the Mexican border in Arizona. I am looking into Mexico right now at a facility that is used to store drugs by the cartels.
A ranch, a home, a warehouse? What is it?
It's a little over 100 acres. Down there. It's called Los Corrales. It used to belong to John Wayne. He used to trade horses across the border. So they have corrals there that actually used to straddle the border. And he would trade horses back and forth. But, of course, he's long gone, and people have acquired that facility to store drugs in them. And we have lots of videos showing that.
And it is common knowledge to not only you, but to other people in the area that that is exactly what is at this location?
Oh, sure. You know, I was down on the border recently, and there was a Mexican army a unit down there, a Hummer. And I asked the Border Patrol guy, I said, what's the Army doing down there? And he says, they probably need money.
Now, let's make sure that we make a point here. American Border Patrol is not a group that is made up of American Border Patrol agents. It is a very different company that does what? Explain it to us.
It is a nonprofit group. I started out with two former Chief Border Patrol agents 12 years ago. We are a 501c3. Donations are tax deductible. We're in good standing in every state of the union. We have over 30,000 donors, and they donate money, and we do a lot of stuff on the border, really focusing on technology, how it can be used to bring the story of the border to the people, and how to solve the border problem using technology.
Okay, so what was the idea that you brought? When did you bring it? And tell us what happened.
Well, if you go to AmericanBorderPatrol.com, there's actually a little summary of stories about how we actually started this. Now, there's one up there from KVOA TV back in July 2003, where I am being interviewed, and I say we're going to come up with an evaluation of how well the Border Patrol is doing. So we started this 11, 12 years ago looking for a way to evaluate, see how we're doing, okay? So you'll see another story in 2009. 6 years later, we're still looking for a way to do this. You'll see in 2010, I was lecturing Benny Sanders, Benny Thompson, rather, the head of the then chairman of the Homeland Security. Then you will see in 2013, and actually this started in 2000, we had developed technology that, after working for 12 years, that can count everybody who crosses the border.
Okay, now stop right there, because I've only got about 3 minutes here, and I want to make sure we get this in here. Tell us briefly, if you will, about this technology that counts and what happened when you took it up the chain to the government.
We took it up the chain to the government. I briefed Mark Borkowski, who was head of technology innovation and acquisition for the U.S. Customs and Border Protection. They weren't interested. So we're actually raising private money, and we've raised quite a bit, and I'm installing on one of my neighbor's ranches who is being overrun by the drug cartels. So we've raised over $100,000. The system is in. I'm looking at it operating right now, and we are going to install this using private money, and it can solve the problem.
But when you say it solves the problem, it counts what? Bodies, legs,
well,
it counts
yeah,
people?
What it does,
okay.
I used to run an oil exploration company, Seismic, and it's a line of sensors that it can be as long as the border. and anybody who went to see them about 600 feet away, the alarm goes out. If you go to bordertechnology.com, you'll see that we launch a little drone, okay, that goes out and sends back video of exactly what signal set off the sensor. Then you can send people to apprehend them. The other thing is, if you have a lot of hits and you don't have the people you'll know where to build a fence. In other words, if they're flooding across in a certain location, build a fence there. So it tells you where the problem is, it tells you how to solve it, and it does it very cheaply.
90 seconds. Tell us about what you found when you checked out the Rio Grande flood control system.
I flew down there on the 24th and 25th. I'm an experienced pilot. I took a little GoPro camera, and we went along the levees. And what you have to understand is levees are there to stop the Rio Grande from flooding, right?
Yep.
And they can also be used to stop people from flooding over the Rio Grande. We found out that they had started putting fences on the levees, and then they stopped. They put gates on these levees, and they left them all open. I'm going back Sunday with a still photographer from the local newspaper, and we're going to be posting very high-resolution photographs to show just how negligent the government is in using these levees to stem the flow of flood of people across the Rio Grande in Texas.
I got about 30 seconds left. Why did the government turn you down? Why do you think they decided that they didn't want anything to do with what seems to be a pretty simple and pretty effective system?
Absolutely. If you go to AmericanBorderPatrol.com, you will see that the United States government DHS does not want to be evaluated. They don't want anyone to know how they're doing. There are metrics, there are ways to measure it, and they have avoided any accountability. I have done a paper on this. I've been down here 12 years. I'm a systems engineer, economist, mathematics. I know what I'm talking about. They have worked.
They don't want
very
people to know what's going wrong, do they?
Absolutely.
All right.
And they work overtime to avoid being measured and accountable.
There is the end result of all this and exactly where we're going to have to end it. Glenn Spencer, American Border Patrol, thanks for sharing the stories. I have a feeling we will be talking to you again.
Thank you.
All right, especially when you have pictures that you have to look at as well. My goodness. All right, coming up tomorrow on MidPoint, the millennial dilemma. Dick Morris will join us and talk about politics, Washington, D.C., and a whole lot more. And a D.C. insider who knows where the figurative bodies are buried because he's been there before. That's all coming up tomorrow. But coming up next, heading for New York right here.